Hello, welcome to the morning news. Our top stories ongoing in the United States. A hate crime has been committed. 9 African American people were killed and various others injured by a man that attacked a church in Charleston County, South Carolina. The suspect is said to be a white male in his 20s. Reporters that went to cover the incident were told to back off as there was a bomb threat as well. Church's pastor, Reverend Clementa Pinckney, is among the fatalities. As families and relatives stand by waiting on information regarding the victims, police have launched a massive search for the suspect. Recently, the FBI reported that in 2013, almost 6,000 federal hate crimes were recorded. But the latest total statistics in the U.S. showed that in 2012, almost 300,000 violent and property hate crimes were reported. Various organizations say 60% of those crimes go unreported. The FBI said more than half are committed by white people. We begin our Latin American news coverage in Ecuador. The right wing has insisted on continuing with anti-government protests. At times, they have resorted to violence. They have ignored President Rafael Correa's call for debate. Instead, they appear to be set on attempting to destabilize the country. Right-wing protests also seem to be part of a plot to incite the military to a coup. The majority of the people in Quito are against the anti-guerrilla protests. They are aware of their ill-intended objectives.
Estoy sorprendida.
Supposedly, the justification for the protests was the new tax laws. So now we realize that they definitely wanted a coup d'etat. They wanted to repeat what they did September 30th.
Jaime Nebot, the opposition mayor of Guayaquil, has been caught asking anti-government protesters to fake who they really are. As Correa has said, the new tax laws would have only affected less than 2% of the population. This is a well-to-do upper class who have historically been used to paying very little to no taxes. Let's listen to what the mayor told protesters.
Let's try to use our less luxurious automobiles in the protest, in a more humble appearance.
Next, we visit Peru. An electric link has been discovered between the multi-billion-dollar illegal gold mining business and major multinationals. Our correspondent Raul Mora has more.
150 tons of gold. That is the amount of export contraband leaving from Peru each year, according to the findings of independent journalist group Public Eye. That translates to over $5 billion a year of illegal gross profits that has allegedly ended up in the hands of companies such as Metallurg Technologies and MKS Finance from Switzerland and Northern Texas Refinery and Republic Metals Corporation from the United States.
When you investigate the exports, there are tons that are sent away every year. That means that there's a great deal of gold that is out of the system, does not pay taxes, and is making a few people rich. But the wealth is not staying in the country of origin, it's going abroad.
But tax evasion is not the only problem. Illegal gold mining, with its use of heavy chemicals and machinery, are leaving deserts hundreds of hectares in size in the middle of Peru's Amazon rainforest. Those deserts used to be part of one of the most biologically diverse regions of the world. According to analyst Julia Cuadros, the government bears much of the blame for the current situation.
The government has failed completely to control the issue of illegal gold, and in general, all illegal mining. That failure is due to not being able to look at the problem as a whole. It's important to intervene and discipline the small illegal miners, but that is not enough, because for gold, there's an entire business chain.
Cuadros fears that the government's strategy to deal with illegal miners and not with their suppliers or the corporations that buy their gold is simply a cosmetic solution that avoids confronting larger and more powerful interests. So far, the multinational companies identified by Public Eye have refused to respond to their investigation. Rael Mora, Telesur, Lima.
In Guatemala, rallies to demand the resignation of President Otto Perez Molina have been renewed. Students joined in peaceful protests. Guatemalans are outraged because Perez Molina is apparently involved in a $14 million corruption scandal. That's why Congress is investigating the president. He was ordered to appear in the parliament for questioning. He did not appear and instead said that he would answer to queries in a written statement. Lawmakers will soon decide whether to strip him of immunity to face prosecution. The Colombian peace talks have resumed in Havana. The need for a bilateral ceasefire has again surfaced in the negotiations. Our correspondent Natalia Margarita has the story.
Peace advocates in Colombia continue to express their concerns regarding the intensification of the armed conflict. Renewed calls for an urgent de-escalation of the confrontations have come as the 38th round of talks started in Havana, Cuba.
The peace talks are advancing, so what is the necessity of waiting until the final peace agreement signature to stop deaths, bombing, attacks on the civilian population, and so on? That does not make any sense.
In the wake of the beginning of this new round of negotiations, the FARC delegation has called again on the government to agree on a cessation of hostilities.
We once again are calling for a bilateral ceasefire, which would bring relief and new hope to our people. We are inviting the government to end the contradictions and to reflect in order to attempt to reach an agreement that would stop the confrontation immediately.
Social organizations have been warning on the impacts that the escalation of the conflict is having on those who live in Colombia's war zones. But also the damage over the confidence of civil society towards the process is a concern.
To further escalate the conflict will reduce the possibilities for the construction of confidence. Will also reduce the peace scenarios that we've been constructing. All the enthusiasm that we've been putting into social mobilization.
Meanwhile, the peace delegations will continue to discuss the issue of victims, that is the fourth of the 5-point negotiation agenda, and on which an agreement has already been reached. That was the creation of a Truth Commission.
The Truth Commission is a very important step in the right direction. Anybody who wants to be judged by the transitional special justice of the end of the conflict will have to go to the Truth Commission. And that is basically one of the greatest demands of all the victims.
The fifth and last point of the negotiation agenda, which is the end of the conflict itself, is expected to be addressed too. That implies the discussion on a bilateral and definitive ceasefire and the laying down arms by the insurgency. Natalia Margarita, Telesur, Bogotá, Colombia.
Tens of thousands of Chilean teachers and students protested in Santiago against the new testing measure. That's amid President Michelle Bachelet's wide-ranging education reform. Police officers attempted to disperse the mostly peaceful demonstrations. They fired water cannons and tear gas. President Bachelet seeks to regulate teacher payment and bring public schools under national jurisdiction. She announced the university would be free for 60% of the poor students in Chile. In Mexico, 160 Central American migrants are feared dead after being attacked by armed men in two separate incidents. The government has not investigated the cases nor has reported on them, despite demands by human rights organizations. 220 migrants were attacked in the southeastern state of Veracruz and the northern state of Sonora. Only about 60 of them managed to escape. The rest are unaccounted for. In Veracruz, they were attacked by men with firearms and machetes. In Sonora, military fired on the victims. And now to our world news roundup.
Thousands of people took to the streets of Athens in solidarity with the leftist Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras. They expressed support with his government's struggle against the EU and the IMF. The protesters demanded an end to austerity. Greece's creditors are demanding more austerity measures in Greece in exchange of funding. Greece is expected to make a $1.8 billion payment at the end of this month, but this will only be possible if Greece bows to pressure from its creditors. Tsipras has insisted he will not bend to pressure.
We are pleased because the people are sending their own message to our partner creditors, that the proposals they have submitted are not generous and will further lead the country to a dead end.
Hungary has announced it would build a fence along its border with Serbia to keep out migrants. Officials said that in 2014, 43,000 people entered the country. They say they expect that number to rise to 130,000. The government reported that 95% of the migrants are from Serbia, which is an EU candidate country. The plan has been criticized by the United Nations. They say it violates the right to seek asylum. The Palestinian Unity Government has resigned amid indirect talks between Hamas and Israel. The reason for the decision is due to its failure to consolidate its mandate over the Gaza Strip. The Unity or Consensus government was formed a year ago. It ended a 7-year conflict between Fatah and Hamas. They are the two leading Palestinian parties. Hamas is holding indirect talks with Israel. They are aimed at agreeing on a long-term ceasefire. Swiss Attorney General warned he will not exclude inquiring FIFA President Sepp Blatter in the investigation of the football organization's awarding of the 2018 and 2022 World Cup. The investigation office has been working on 53 cases which are involving suspicious bank relations. Now we are working on huge files we confiscated. We need to make a list first and then analyze them, forming a base for further investigation. For example, the search for offices. In principle, I will not exclude inquiring FIFA President or General Secretary, but I cannot disclose more. Brazil suffered a double blow in the game against Colombia. The Brazilian team lost 1-0, but that's not all. Its star striker Neymar will no longer be playing in the Copa America because he was red-carded. Colombia has now guaranteed their pass to quarterfinals. Venezuela, Colombia and Brazil now have 3 points in the Group C. Brazil and Venezuela will play a crucial game on Sunday.
It's a very big loss not to have Neymar. Unfortunately, he won't be in the next game.
The next game to be played in the 44th edition of the Copa America are Chile against Bolivia. Chile is already firmly in contention for quarterfinals. They have played well and are hoping to clinch their first title ever. Mexico and Ecuador will also face off this Friday. For both these teams, a victory is crucial to continue on in the tournament.
More on these on our website, telesurtv.net/English. Thanks for watching and have a good day.